right, welcome to Math Today. Yesterday in math, we learned the beginning rules for dividing big numbers. And the basics of the lesson was, if you play by the Price is Right rules, you can't go over. So we would get as close as we could to a number with multiples without going over. So here was our example. If I gave you the number 25 and said how many groups of 4 could go in without going over, you would have to skip count until you got to the number that went over, go back one, okay? We're going to keep going with that practice today, okay? So the first thing I want us all to review is just what division problems look like in different forms. So if I wanted to divide 15 by 3, I can write it like this, or like this, okay? And this is how you're going to be seeing it most of the time for a while, all right? We could still show it this way. It means exactly the same thing. And on this type of problem, we put our answer here. On this type of a problem, you put your answer up on top. All right, so that is what we are going to start doing in division, starting today. All right. So on this side of my board, hopefully you all have your whiteboards. And if you want to get your board prepared like mine, you don't need to write all of this, but draw a line down the middle. And on the left side of our board, we're going to practice division with no remainders, okay? And after I show you a few, you will understand what a remainder is. But a remainder in its most basic definition means you have some leftover, okay? So those are almost synonyms. Leftover and remainder mean the same thing. So on these examples, there will be nothing left over. So let's go ahead and start with 15 divided by 5. All right. Well, if I know my math facts, I know that there are 3 5s that go into 15. 3 times 5 is 15. If I didn't know my math facts, how could I approach this problem? Could I skip count to see how many groups it takes to get to 15? Yes. So you could say 1 group of 5 is 5. Skip count again. 10 would be 2 groups. Skip count, 15. Okay, that's our target. So now how many groups of 5 are in 15? 1, 2, 3. So 3 is my answer. All right? So I'm going to continue doing a few more examples on this side. Each time we can erase and try another one. All right, this is just to get you used to the format. I know most of you know your facts at this point. If not, you need to really work at catching up. All right, here's another one. If I have 63 divided by 7. Again, if we know our math facts, that's pretty simple. If you do not know your math fact and your fact families, you're going to have to skip count. So I'm going to just skip count with 7s until I get to somewhere close to 63. All right, and I landed right on 63. So that means there's an even number of 7s in that number. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 groups of 7 make 63. Okay, and if you knew your fact families, your math facts, you know that 9 times 7 is 63. Let's try a couple more. All right, sometimes the simplest problems are the most tricky. So if I have 3 divided by 3, think about what that means, right? It also looks like this, 3 divided by 3. If I have 3 things, okay, sometimes it helps to make these numbers into actual things. So let's make it 3 cats. I love cats. If I have 3 cats and I'm dividing them into 3 groups, how many cats would be in each group? 1, right? Only 1 cat. 3 divided into 3 groups, you'd have 1 thing in each group. So don't mix up those simple ones. Think it through. If I have 3 things put in 3 groups, I only have 1 in each group. All right? Now let's think about this one. 0 divided by 6. Well, if I have 0 cats and I split my 0 cats up into 6 groups, how many cats are in each group? 0, right? There are no cats to begin with. So 0 divided by anything is 0. Okay, don't ever forget that fact. All right, how about if I have this one? 9 divided by 1. remember what it means. I have 9 things. I'm splitting it into one group. So if I have 9 things and put it all into one group, don't I still have 9 in my group? 9 divided into one group is 9. Or we know 9 times 1 is 9. So you've got to get used to your division looking like this, okay? So we had lots of examples of division with no remainders, right? So I'll put one more example up to leave. If I have 24 divided by 6, well, I could do my skip counting. 6, 12, 18, 24. 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. Did I land right on 24? So 4 times 6 is 24. There's no remainder, there's no leftover, okay? Now, to contrast that, on the other side, we will see what happens if you do have a remainder, okay? So this is a new idea. Bear with me here, okay? So our first problem, we will do 13 divided by 6. Now, the first thing I'm hoping you're realizing is that I cannot skip count with 6s and land on a 13. Okay, that's my first problem. So if I was skip counting, I would say 6, then 12, then 18. Okay, so 13 is somewhere in between here. So this is going to tell you when this happens, you are going to have a remainder or some leftover. Okay, this is how this works. How many 6s go into 13 without going over? This is when yesterday's lesson comes into play. How many 6s can I fit into 13 without going over? Well, one group of 6 would be 6. 2 groups of 6 would be 12. 3 groups of 6 is 18, and that goes over. I can't do 3 groups. So what's the most groups I can do? 2. Okay? 1 group of 6, 2 groups of 6. So I can do 6 2 times without going over. Okay? Now, if I do 6 2 times, did we get a 12? We got a 12. I want you to write it right like that. So we know that 2 groups of 6 is 12. Now, how many am I going to have left over if I subtract 12 from my 13? 3 minus 2 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. So what do I have left over that I couldn't use in my problem? Just 1, okay? So that's what we call your remainder, or your leftover. I could put 2 groups of 6 into 13 without going over, and then I have 1 number left, okay? So this is how we write that. We put an R, 1. So that means our answer is, how many 6s will go into 13? 2 with 1 left over, remainder 1. All right? So that's just our first problem. I hope no one at home is panicking, okay? We've only done 1, all right? So we're going to keep practicing division with leftovers or with remainders. So erase your board. Let's try another one. All right, this time, let's do 12 divided by 5. 12 divided by 5. Right away, my brain looked at that and said, 5 times anything won't get me to 12. All right, so let's write out our skip counts. I know that 1 group of 5 is 5. 2 groups of 5 is 10. 3 groups of 5 is 15. So will 3 groups of 5 fit here? No, okay. 15's too big. I can't do 3 groups, so I'll have to go down 1, okay? So, how many groups of 5 make 10? 1, 2. Okay, I do not write the 10 up there. Okay, I want to know how many groups of 5, so that's why I put a 2. This is 1 group, this is 2 groups. So because I can put 2 groups in, I put a 2 on the top. Okay? Now what is 2 groups of 5? It's 10. So if I put my 10 right here and subtract, 2 minus 0 is 2, 1 minus 1 is 0. I have a 2 left over. Okay? So what do I call that? It's my remainder. So I can't just leave it down here, or my answer's wrong. I have to put 2 5s will go into 12 with a remainder of 2 left over. That's my answer. All right, let's try it again. All right, this next one. 17 divided by 8. 17 divided by 8. All right, well, I'm skip counting in my head already, and I know it goes 8, then 16, then 24. 17 is not a multiple of 8. So I'm going to have a remainder. All right. Now, how many groups of 8 will fit into 17 without going over? We can skip count if we need to. There's 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups. Okay, 3 groups is too big, so it has to be the 2 groups, right? Okay, so I don't put a 16. I want to write the group number. So this was 1 group of 8. This is 2 groups of 8. So 2 groups of 8 fit into 17 without going over. All right. Now our next step, once we have our 2 up there, well, what is 2 groups of 8? 2 times 8 is 16. This is how we find out how much leftover we've got. Okay? So if I could only fit in 2 groups of 8 with 16 and subtract, I'm left with 1 left over. Okay? Does anyone remember where we write that? Always at the top. So our answer is 2 remainder 1. Okay? Next example. All right, let's try this one. 26 divided by 4. 26 divided by 4. All right, well, we can't go over, so let's start with skip counting. Let's think it through. Some of you might be able to skip count and do this part in your head, but I will keep modeling out my skip counting on the board for those who are a little confused. So I'm thinking about multiples of 4. Okay, let's go ahead and write out 4s until we get around 26. So first I've got 4, skip count, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. Can you already tell that we're going to go past? Yeah, we're going to go past 28. All right. So now can I tell which group is too many? Absolutely. 26 is less than 28. This won't work. So I'm focusing on the group less than that. All right, now how many groups was that? Because I can't write 24 up there. That's not how this works. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so 6 times 4 is 24. So 6 groups of 4. 6 times 4 is 24. All right, now when I subtract, 6 minus 4 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. Can I just leave it like that? Nope. This 2 needs to run up here. 6, remainder, 2. All right, now what that means, if I divide 26 into 4 groups, I will have 6 groups of 4 with 2 left over. Okay, it doesn't split up evenly. All right, let's try another one. All right, this time let's do a larger number. 55 divided by 7. All right, now let's think about our 7s. Go ahead and write out your skip counting, or if you're doing it in your head, you need to figure out how many groups of 7 will fit into 55 without going over. All right, so I've got 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, 56. Okay. So you only have to count up as far as you tell you've gone past. Is 56 past my target? Yeah, 56 is too big. Okay, can't go over. Remember the Price is Right rules. All right, so the biggest group without going over 55 would be the 49. So how many groups of 7 does it take to make 49? 7. So I pop my 7 up top, and now I multiply. 7 times 7 is 49. Uh-oh, 5 minus 9. What do you guys think we ought to do? Do you think this is normal subtraction rules? It is, all right? Normal subtraction rules. So if I have a 5 minus 9 and I can't do that, I have to borrow, right? Just like normal. So I'll borrow out of my 5, make that a 4, and my 5 becomes a 15. 15 minus 9 is 6. And 4 minus 4 is 0. So this time my remainder is a whole lot bigger. Okay? I have 6 left over. And that's okay. Remember, your remainder always has to run up here to the top. 7, remainder 6. All right. I'll give you a minute to make sure that one's sinking into your brain. Now here's a helpful tip for you, and I'll keep reviewing this as we learn division. If your remainder after your R is ever larger than your divisor right here, like let's say I had remainder 7 left over, you've done the problem wrong. Okay, that's always a good hint. Your remainder has to be less than your divisor outside your bracket. Okay, so I'll keep reviewing that if that didn't sink in yet. But those of you that are starting to get the hang of this, that's a good way to check. Your remainder has to be less than your divisor, or you could have put another group into your number. Okay, if that confused you, just rewind. We'll keep working on that all week. All right, let's try one more. 50 divided by 5. Huh. Some of you might be thinking, wait a minute, that should work out evenly and we wouldn't have any left over. And you are right. But on your math worksheets, there are certain ways you have to show your work. I want you to understand how it's done. All right, now how many 5s will go into 50 without going over? If you needed to write out your skip count, you could. But I think we know this one, right? 10 times 5 is 50. So 10 groups of 5 go into 50 without going over. Is 10 times 5 50? It is. So look what happens. When I subtract, I don't have a remainder. There's nothing left over, right? So on your practice today, when this type of a situation happens, and they have a little R up here for you to put your remainder in with a box, what do you think you have to put in there? 0, okay? On the questions that ask you for a remainder, when there isn't one, just pop a 0 in there. You'll get all your points. If you leave that blank, it'll look like you missed a point, okay? All right, let's do one more with an actual remainder, and then I will turn you loose to practice. All right, let's do 39 divided by 6. 39 divided by 6. All right, now our goal, we need to think how many 6s will go in 39 without going over. So I need to think about my multiples of 6. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42. All right. So I've passed the number up here. So which of these numbers down here is too big? The 42. So I can cross that out. That won't work. So my target is the one right below it, okay? Now I hope you're getting at this point, we cannot write a 36 up here. That does not make sense. We need to know how many groups of 6 make 36, okay? Or you can think 6 times what is 36? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 groups of 6 would make a 36. So that's what goes on top. Okay, now we just multiply, okay? 36 was our target. 6 times 6, 36. And we can find out what we have left over or a remainder. So 9 minus 6 is 3. 3 minus 3 is a 0. This 3 has to be represented in my answer or it's not right. 39 divided by 6 is not 6. It is 6 with 3 left over or remainder 3. Okay? All right. We are going to continue to work on this all week. All right? So no panicking. If you need extra practice, I would recommend restart the video, take a little break, take some deep breaths, get a drink of water, rewatch the video. The practice you're going to work on today will help you. Make sure you understand this. It starts simple with division with no remainders, okay, to help you just start practicing this. And then on the second sheet, you are going to have problems like this, where you'll have to skip count or think of how many groups fit without going over, and then tell me what would be left over as your remainder. Okay? All right, great work today. I know this is a tricky new concept, but I think you will all work hard and do your best and get it, okay? All right, see you soon.